Thank you so much for your introduction, Cecilia. Just sharing my slides now. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can see.
Great. So hi, folks. My name is Addison Metzger, and I'm a senior undergraduate student at Boston College and a research assistant in the Aftermath Learning Lab. During this session, we'll be discussing how to cultivate sustainability mindsets in K-12 students through interdisciplinary environmental education. And a little bit more about my background. I'm finishing my bachelor's degree in secondary education through the Lynch School at Boston College. And during this time, I've had the privilege of completing my student teaching at Boston Green Academy, a charter school within the Boston Public Schools that's mission is centered around environmental justice. I want to begin this discussion by acknowledging the many benefits of environmental education. According to research collected by the North American Association for Environmental Education at Stanford University, environmental education has numerous benefits for both students and the environment. Some of their findings display that environmental education leads to deeper understanding and stronger retention of material, gains in student confidence, increased awareness and care for local environmental systems, and help students identify their unique strengths in a class community and adopt a collectivist mindset. So now I'd like to share a case study of environmental education in practice right here in Boston. So as I previously stated, Boston Green Academy is a Horace Mann in-district charter school within the Boston Public Schools, serving 6th through 12th graders. But many of the principles that BGA upholds can be applied at the elementary level as well. So green exhibitions are the culminating point of the BGA's students' school year. Throughout the school year, BGA students work with teachers across disciplines to create sustainability-centered projects that they share with their community. And not only do BGA students learn about environmental issues in the classroom, but through connections with community partners, BGA students attend a 3-day immersive camping experience each school year from 6th to 12th grade on Thompson Island. On this trip, students learn about the landscape, the ecological challenges facing the Boston Harbor, and build community through some team building challenges. And finally, one of BGA's proudest environmental justice initiatives is the Career and Technology Education Program. High schoolers can choose to opt into this one-of-a-kind program that empowers students who have an interest in green careers with practical skills to apply it to their postgraduate life. So students in this CTE program learn valuable business skills, learn how to operate an urban container farm, actually pictured down here, and gain access to internships in green sectors. So I believe that BGA offers a great model for the exploration of interdisciplinary environmental education in K-12 schools. And using the expertise and lived experiences of the attendees here today, I'd like to devote some time to discussing the barriers to accessing environmental education and develop solutions to expand and improve environmental education in Boston and beyond. So on that note, I have a couple discussion questions up on the screen here. The first question for discussion that I have for the entire group, have you seen examples of environmental education in your community? If not, where might areas of growth for environmental education be? And you can use the Q&A feature or raise your hand and the facilitators will call on you. I can start off with an example from my own educational experience. During my elementary education, my school made an effort to get students outside to get kind of a foundational experience with environmental education. So about once a month, we would have a science class outside where we would explore our local community. And I think just like the example that I gave of my BGA students getting outside onto Thompson Island and having real hands-on experiences, that was an equally valuable experience for me. And I'd love to hear if anyone has similar experiences, or if not, an area for growth potentially in their own lived experience or their school district.
I can also share an example of my when I was a primary school student. So I remember when I was about 5th grade, our elementary school organized us to plant trees in the community. So that's a way for environmental education when I was very young. And yeah, I think it's kind of good, and it's like the whole school will go out and try to see how to plant trees and really do something themselves. So yeah, that's an example from my community.
Thank you for sharing, Cecilia. Yeah, I think that is a super valuable example because it shows how an entire community can get involved in these environmental initiatives. And I do see one response in the Q&A. So one participant says, I've seen environmental education in the larger community through Nature Walk, organized both to get members of a town connected with each other and to increase their appreciation of natural spaces in the town. Yeah, and that is really at the core of why getting outside for environmental education is so important, because it kind of grounds learners in their local community and makes these issues really relevant to every individual's life. So thank you so much. And if we don't have any more responses for that first question, I would love to move on to the second question. How might organizations and industries partner with schools to create a more community-based environmental education? And this is really directed at anybody who works in industry. Like I shared earlier, the internship programs offered through the CTE program at Boston Green Academy are really valuable to students. And if you feel like you work in an industry that might be able to partner with schools and with students, I'd love to hear from you and how we could further develop these programs.
Yeah, I saw a hand briefly, but I didn't get over to it in time. So if someone raised their hand and wanted to talk, please just do it again, and I can enable your audio. And then it looked like you got a response in the Q&A chat as well, Addie.
Great, thank you. Yes, this chat says, my old elementary school had a school gardens program for 10 years. They plant native pollinators, veggies, compost, and have an annual plant sale to raise funds for programs. Precious, yes. That's another great example of getting students involved. I know that at Boston Green Academy, students work in that urban container farm, which is an innovative way, probably similar to this community garden model. And students are also responsible for selling what the school grows. So it's just a great way to get the community grounded in local agriculture and help students learn about more sustainable agriculture practices and what species that are native to their communities. Yes, thank you so much. And did we have a hand, or we can also move on?
Yeah, there was a hand, but oh, it's back. All right, here you go. Kate, you are able.
Hi, it's Kate. I sent my response in the chat there, but I can just expand a bit. There's an Innovation Career Pathways program happening in Massachusetts that I think is a really exciting, promising practice related to environmental education. So they have all sorts of kind of work-based learning for our students, and one of them is focused on environmental science. So there's one in like really rural Pioneer Valley, Massachusetts, where they have like a watershed association that the students get to work with, and they're out there kind of getting to like go out and work in the river behind their school, and learn from the like landscape around them. And then these kind of programs also connect with Mass Hire, and they like identify what factories or kind of what local industries where jobs are needed, and kind of relate the coursework there. So I think that's one area that's an exciting thing happening in Massachusetts, trying to get kids more involved and also giving them kind of career ideas.
Thank you so much for sharing, Kate. That sounds like a really exciting program, and that's exactly what the space is hoping to do, is cultivate a space to share these types of opportunities and areas for growth. I also see a couple more responses in the chat. Jackie says that it was very interesting to hear about your experience at Boston Green Academy. During my pre-practicum experience, I remember a day in class where the students were upset with the trash pollution they noticed in their playground and wrote a letter to DNR about tips to keep their school clean and the environment and environmentally safe. The students had an interest in environment by reflecting on their school's community, which prompted my supervising practitioner to utilize class time around environmental education. That is just such an awesome example of environmental education kind of naturally coming up in curriculum. And as more educators become versed in environmental education, I hope that they kind of use these opportunities of student activism to integrate environmental education into the curriculum, just like that great example. Thank you, Jackie. And also one more response in the chat. At the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality, we have a solids waste management grant available to schools and universities. Some of the relevant categories are textile waste and environmental education. The grants are also available to nonprofits that do similar work. Other states' environmental agencies may have similar programs. And this is just such another awesome initiative at the state level to continue to promote environmental education and support the good work at both the elementary and secondary level and beyond. Thank you for that resource. So it looks like that is all the answers in the chat for this question. We could move on to question number 3. What environmental issues are most important for 6th through 12th graders to examine through an interdisciplinary lens? Now, just to start this conversation off with an example, my 6th graders who were working on a curriculum goal related to studying maps. And in their study of maps, we did a mapping of the city of Boston and how different regions of the city have more tree coverage and the heat island effect that results from that. So I see a couple responses coming in the chat. University garden excursions in other countries to discover new research approaches, biodiversity projects, connecting different stakeholders, Day for Young Scientists, programs related to Earth Day, Girls Day to discover jobs in the field of, example, natural sciences. Oh, those are awesome resources that we can continue to share as we collect them in the chat. In addition, composting and food waste. Yeah, these are all awesome responses. I know that my community has student-driven initiatives for composting and food waste, and to get students involved in these programs is so important so that they can carry on these values as they continue on in their lives beyond school. And for the sake of time, we can move on to the 4th question. What might sustainability education look like for elementary students? How can educators and community members instill a sustainability mindset in K through 5 students? As I said earlier, my expertise has come mostly from the 6th through 12th lens, and I would love to expand from the perspective of parents, from elementary educators, or any community member about how sustainability education might look in the K-5 sector. Yes, we have field trips to landfills and recycling facilities. I definitely, from my sixth graders, have seen the most engagement when they leave the school's campus. So when we get out into the community, when we're doing field trips, I know that some groups go to Deer Island and like explore the waste facilities to kind of understand how waste is processed in our city. We also, like I mentioned earlier, go on those trips to Thompson Island, which are so rewarding for various reasons. But field trips are a super important way to get out into the community for environmental education purposes.
I have one, just something that's come up with our discussions around like the aftermath sculpture that Julia DeFoy was talking about earlier, and but just more broadly, textile art. I think art presents a lot of opportunities to engage people at all ages, and just like integrating there's so much art that can be made through upcycling and through not just textiles, but through so many other materials. And so like integrating upcycling into art curriculum or art projects, or using art in sustainable materials as an opportunity for learning. I think there's a lot of opportunities there for all ages.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing up that point. That is definitely at the core of our lab's values. The interdisciplinary aspect of this issue. So I think that my school really aims to make sure that the sustainability conversation is not just happening in the environmental science classroom, but it's happening in the humanities classroom, in the ELA classroom, and in the math classroom as well. And also using multiple forms of communication, such as the art projects that you just brought up, DL. Thank you so much. And I'm seeing a couple more responses come in through the chat. Jackie says, I think that encouraging creativity through art projects using recycled materials, creating eco-friendly crafts, or participating in environmentally themed art competitions promote innovation and sustainability. And yeah, that definitely connects to DL's prior point. Thank you, Jackie. Yes, we also have artistic projects related to water, textiles, and food waste, getting students involved and ideally with their hands creating things. I think it really helps drive home the central values that we're trying to impart into our students. And for the last question,
yeah, I can speak to that. I was just going to, or sorry, the last question in the Q&A, I was going to type a response, but the conference is being recorded, and we will have, we will be editing the whole conference and posting caption videos and a transcript for the whole conference. It'll take us a little bit of time, but you can expect it within like two to 4 weeks.
Thank you, Dale. And the last question that I wanted to pose to the group is, what challenges might educators face in implementing an interdisciplinary sustainability-centered curriculum? I know as an educator, meeting standards is at the center of a lot of our planning. So trying to integrate more sustainability centered standards into all of the disciplines, I think would be a great start to breaking down that barrier. And if you have any other suggestions or responses, you can drop that in the chat, or raise your hand, and DL will unmute you. Yes, I see in the chat pushback from certain political climate entering schools through legislation, and we definitely have seen that. A lot of politicization of education And the climate crisis has been at the center of this as well.
Right. I know we're reaching time here. Are there any final comments or things that participants wanted to share? Or Addie, do you have any kind of final comments you want to wrap up before we move on to our next section?
Yeah, thank you all for your participation today. I feel like this was a really productive discussion, and thank you for the opportunity to present today.
Right. Thank you so much, Addie, and thank you everyone for that discussion.